Sean Payton joining us in J-Mac. So, there were some people that were a little upset, Coach. Brady at a wedding. It was all over the internet, Bob Kraft. Congrats to Bob. And then he did miss the morning Saturday meeting, which I don't know the importance of it. And so he's barking at people on the offensive line. And there was a lot of blowback. A lot of people were like, hey, man, you can't – responsibility goes both ways. Brady wasn't there Saturday morning. You used to fly and watch all your son's high school football games on Friday in Dallas, fly back on that 1 a.m. flight Saturday morning. Are you bummed?
Well, I said this yesterday. I don't think we even discuss it or flinch at it if not for the 10 days already missed at training camp. And look, he's earned the right for personal days. When you're someone like Tom and he's going to handle some whatever it is, it comes up. I was saying this earlier. You have a large roster of 65 guys and coaching staff. These are the things every year. There are funerals, there are weddings, there are births. And the player would always come up and say, hey, my wife's going to be going into labor. We'd have a plan in place if it was in season. The funerals, unfortunately, those we deal with those. So, yeah, I was a little surprised that because Friday is the night where the players and coaches are finished in the building. Your kind of work is done. Saturday, their morning meetings and a walkthrough. I was a little surprised that he didn't return, on a private plane.
Right.
So, but he may have very well had something that he needed to tend to there, and that would be between Tom and Todd. And so we never felt the need. But it only becomes newsworthy because of the training camp days missed, and then they lose the game. If he had played well yesterday, we'd be on to topic B right now. Right. We wouldn't even be playing, addressing topic A, and it's part of the business that we're in.
So I said this, and I don't think it's a reach, and I said it before the season. I said I don't know if Aaron's built for this roster. It's a bunch of young kids. It's 3 rookies. You got to be patient, and this is not a knock at Aaron. Never married, no kids. No, his life, no sacrifices to the married, the kids. This is going to take patience, a father figure, hold some hands here. Guys are going to make mistakes, the same ones over and over. They played at Reno and, FCS or FBS schools. And so I look at this Green Bay roster and, Sean, it's not getting better.
Well, there were 2 games that surprised me yesterday a lot. This was one of them. They had a tough loss the week before in London versus the Giants, right? And this is a game back at Lambeau that you see them, kind of pivoting and getting the win they needed. I don't think it's just the receiver room. That's an easy. Now, when you lose Devontae Adams,
sure,
there's a couple teams that I think really miss. And he's one of them. I think at Tennessee. That trade they made with Philadelphia.
They told you it hurt.
Oh.
Vrabel told you. You could see the press conference.
Well, we get to see it live now, and we get to see the help it's given Philly with the addition. And then I believe this. I think Gronkowski, for what he did in Tampa's offense, people didn't realize, and who watches how good a tight end blocks.
Right.
None of us do.
Right.
Because we're consumed with fantasy. And so when the tight end blocks the D gap, we don't get 4 points in our fantasy, and the run hits for 8 yards. But when you don't have a tight end in this league that can block, it is hard to run the ball. We're seeing that in Tampa Bay. When you don't have a tight end in the tight red area on 3rd down. So there's a few teams last year offensively that were kind of here.
Yes.
And here we are, week 6, and we're like, what happened? And it happened right in front of us. But the Green Bay result, I think, was a little surprising. And credit the Jets.
Oh, they're playing with incredible energy, college energy.
Yeah, I want to see the Jets-Giants play Wednesday night, just a scrimmage.
That's right.
And then go back to the normal schedule.
Well, you're watching 2 coaches build cultures.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. So Philadelphia may not run the offense you would, or maybe you would with this personnel. My question is, is it sustainable? Does this offense work in January, in February, or because there's some explosion plays happening in the first 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden everybody gets the analytics and the trends? Is this a smoke and mirrors offense? Or
no, I know this firsthand. We've seen them. Now, they weren't 6-0 at that time, but they run the ball scheme-wise and game plan-wise and skill set-wise. Players, coaches, as well as anyone. And to their credit, I've seen Hurts grow like enormously here in a year and a half, his play. The confidence they're playing with. I've always felt like the key for them to play in February is going to be how well their defense plays. They run the ball extremely well, and then you see, and you can always, there's a few teams like this. All right, everyone in our league has to stop the run. Let's just start with that, right? And yet the 49ers, generally speaking, find ways to have 8 and 12-yard runs that other teams don't have. And you look at it like, what are they doing differently? In Philadelphia, the same way. And so that travels into the colder months. That travels into January. Okay. Certainly, they're one of the teams that you're going to have to beat in the NFC. And look, they're unbeaten. And I think the other thing now is, man, the skill set outside with the receivers and the tight end. If you said, give me the best X, Y, and Z combination. Now, X and Z are receivers in the NFL, and the tight end's the Y. You could come up with a good argument that their three equals anyone else's.
So, Mac Jones and Bailey Zappe. I look at him and I think maybe Mac is more talented. That doesn't mean he's doing exactly schematically what the coaches want him to. And when I watched it yesterday, I'm like, what do I care about talent? If I'm Belichick, here's what we've schemed. Get it there fast. And I watch him, and I don't even think it's a quarterback controversy. They didn't give anything up to get Matt. They didn't give anything up to get Bailey. If I'm a coach and my guy...
It's the perfect team. And I say this, and it's a credit to New England, to Bill, to ownership, to the epitome of functionality. It's the perfect team for a player like Bailey Zappe to be at where, and we used to say this after the draft and the teams all together, and in the meeting you have your draft picks, you have the guys you signed after the draft, free agents.
Yeah.
So you have the 4th-round picks and Bailey Zappe and the 7th-round picks and the first-rounders there. They're all there. And then the free agents and the free agents that are veterans from other teams. And we would always say, hey, you guys are here now, and that's the science and the art of procuring talent. How you arrived here will have no bearing on how much you play. Now, we can say that, but it's teams double down on mistakes all the time in our league, and it's frustrating to watch, and you see it happening. Bill Belichick is just going to go by what he sees. I mean, and so not having had a chance to really evaluate Bailey Zappe other than in the green room and watching him, but if Bill feels like that player gives them the best chance to win, that's who's going to play. You know, we spent so much time discussing, is there a controversy in Dallas? No, there isn't. There's a gap here.
Yes.
All right, and we got to realize a little bit. But, Cooper did his job. They went 4-1.
It's great.
All right, held the fort and some. But back to your point with Bailey Zappe, there could be no better place to be undrafted or a late-round pick, prove your worth, and there will be no politics or whatever relative to you getting on the field. He's going to play, and we said all the time, we're selfish. We want to win. And your locker room is empowered when that happens. Conversely, when those players in the locker room feel like you're playing someone that isn't necessarily the best, or they haven't seen that relative to someone else on the roster, maybe because you were drafted higher, the opposite can take place.
KC Buffalo, when you're in big rivalry games, you certainly had it with Brady in Tampa, New Orleans. Yeah. Do you coach different?
Well, there's just a sense of urgency, and we always got asked this question. We played Atlanta. It's a rivalry. I'm like, it's a regional game. First off, I think of college football with rivalry.
Sure.
In the NFL, we see these swings and pendulums. There was a stretch where Indy, New England, Manning, that was a great 6-year stretch, whatever it was. And then we went through the Ravens Steelers.
Oh, that was a low-scoring, great game.
Outstanding stuff.
Yeah.
All right. We shared that a little with Tampa Bay. And clearly, 2022 right now, one of the ones that we all want to watch, and I think we're going to see it again, is Buffalo, Kansas City.
Yeah.
But the unique thing is there's a good chance the next time we see it, it's going to be in Buffalo. And when you start doing the math, I think they're 11-2 at home in their last 13 games.
It'll be cold.
That's
and
a hard place to play now, buddy. I mean, you go into that stadium and, oh, my gosh, it's difficult. And so that's the significance of yesterday's game. Look, both those teams it was a fantastic game. At first, it started out low scoring, and then you just knew. And the other thing is, you 5 minutes left in the game, you thought, normally this would be like a quarter. But for these teams, it'll last forever. I think the significance of that game yesterday has a chance to be home field.
Yeah. Sean Payton, I wish we could take you to the next hour. We probably could. The show's called The Herd. I could make an executive decision. So I want to take a break. Do you got anything to do?
I've got nothing to do. And the show's called The Herd. Who are we reporting to here?
Exactly. I've been telling my bosses that for 6 years.
Where are they today?
Home, watching this wonderful
Let's keep
show.
going. Let's break for gold bullion or whatever it is we break for.
I want one of the things I want you to think about as we go to break. The Saints Bengals game was very interesting yesterday because I just think Burrow's got something, and I'm not sure you can coach it. And I'm going to ask you this on the other side. There are guys late in game. I once saw this with a race car driver. They put a heart monitor on him, and his heart rate didn't go up the faster he went, even in collisions. And I watched Burrow, and I swear to God, he's better with 2 left than the first quarter. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.